Okay. All right. Well, let's just get going because I don't want to take up more of people's time that are here. And then I'm going to put something in the chat box real quick for those of you here. And let me share my screen one more time. Okay, for students, there's just like a check-in Google Doc that I'm sharing real quick in the chat box. So just make sure you log your attendance in here. These events, it's like a whole week of diversity career events that the San Jose State Career Center is putting on. And so they really just want to track attendance for all of these variety of events. And then let me go back to my screen. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, so I am Maggie Morales. I'm the director of the Veterans Resource Center here on campus. And we have Robert Davis here also, who works for the center as the certifying official. And we have a great lineup of alumni that you guys are gonna hear from today. And I'm just gonna go through and let them kind of explain what their background is, where they're at, what they're doing. And then at any point in time, if you guys have questions, please just throw them in the chat box so that if somebody specifically on the panel wants to address them, then they can just kind of call it out and I'll make sure that we're getting to your questions as well. So to kick things off, I'm just going to go how you guys are on my screen. So no particular order, rhyme or reason to that. But Eric Anderson, how about we'll have you kick it off with just what this basic introduction is.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Eric Anderson. I served 5 years with 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines from 2007 to 2012. My degree from San Jose State that I attained graciously in December 2016 was a BS in Business Administration with a concentration in Information Systems and Technology. The concentration used to be called Management Information Systems. The year after I graduated, they changed the title. For the last 5 years, I've been in public affairs, so leading external communications for a brand drug called Imbruvica that treats 6 different blood cancers for a company based out of Chicago. And as of yesterday, I've moved to the marketing side, and so now I'm an associate director in oncology marketing. So what does that do? I am responsible for DTC efforts, direct-to-consumer advertising and marketing on national television commercials, brand websites, etc. So I'll pass it off to, let's look at on my screen, I see David. So.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm David Lim. I didn't have any degree when I came to SJSU. First time I met Maggie. And I went, I got a bachelor's degree in MIS, same as Eric here. And I also got a master's degree in accounting. I just recently received a certification as a certified public accountant. I'm a CPA now, so my day-to-day job is just I'm preparing taxes for corporation, S-corp, partnership, what have you. And also help wealthy individuals preparing their tax returns. I help them planning what they're gonna do in the future to save tax. And I forgot, I was in the Army. I was a medic for 4 years, and I went to reserve. I was a sergeant, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
Next, yeah.
How about Kwong?
Hey everyone, my name is Kwong. I'm a recent graduate, so I graduated in December of 2020. I studied economics at San Jose State. I used to work for Maggie at the VRC for total year and a half now, so it's almost like entire time in my college years. I'm currently working as a financial analyst at Lockheed. So we oversee budget, and then we do financial analysis in terms of how we spread the budget. Personally, I'm in charge of like $30 to $40 million worth of contracts. So we just oversee those budgets and how we come across those finances.
Thanks, Kwong. Addie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Addie Casillas. I was in the Army for 10 years. I was a logistician there, enlisted, got out as a staff sergeant. I went to San Jose State. I was a transfer student, so went to community college first, San Jose City, transferred to San Jose State, met Maggie and everyone else, almost everyone here on the call here there. Got my degree, BS in business analytics. The concentration was in business analytics, first graduating class in that concentration, so that was pretty neat. I went and graduated, got a job at Cisco Systems as a business analyst, worked there for 3 years, up until early this year. Then got a job currently working at Contrast Security startup world, a program manager there in product management and R&D. Very fast-paced world, so different shifts in pace and everything, but really enjoying it there. Yeah, so we can ask more questions there in case you're interested in the dynamic there. Thanks.
Thanks, Addie. And Vida. Oh, you're muted.
God, I thought I hit unmute. Sorry. So I'm Vida. I graduated from San Jose State in summer of 2018 with a bachelor's in psychology and a minor in business. I also just recently earned my MBA from USC last spring 2020. Right now I'm a customer success manager at Big Commerce, which I just really there. I'm a strategic consultant for my book of business, helping customers grow their online presence and optimize their store performance. So thank you all for being here today.
Thank you. So like I said earlier, if any of you have questions, definitely feel free to throw them in the chat box. And Bob, maybe you can kind of help me just keep track of that since my screen is so little and I have multiple things open right now. If you can kind of help me keep track of the chat box too. So let's just dive in, and I'm throwing the questions up here just so honestly you all can see the questions that we're going to be asking. But to kind of kick it off, I've got one to throw out to Eric and Addie, and feel free to chime in, the rest of you. But as the first question just states is, what do you feel was the most difficult part or challenge in just making your transition from the military to, I'd say, education and then the civilian sector? And Eric or Addie, whichever one want to go first.
Sure. Addie, if you want to take it away.
Sure. Yes. I did have some I would say big challenges from having been in the military lifestyle for 10 years and having to pivot directly into civilian world. And I knew that I wanted to go into college right away and not skip a beat. It was difficult to know. The military doesn't do a great job. It didn't do at that time. Maybe they do better. But preparing you for what is out there when you don't have other family members who have gone through the college system, the university system, and what's out there for you as a former service member. So even the application process from my case, enrollment, what does that mean? And the adjustment part, and benefits and GI Bill, and what does it mean? And what else in addition to GI Bill was? So just a lot of those challenges and benefits that as a service member we're entitled to that we aren't even aware of yet. but wonderful places like VRCs, which both the community college and San Jose State have, and wonderful people like Bob and Maggie that are there, and your peers to help you navigate those systems were, for me, life-saving and life-changing, because I wouldn't have been able to end up where I'm at today without all that support system.
Yeah. No, I had very similar challenges, and I think for me it started much smaller. To Addie's point, having been in the military for extended years, you don't have to think about what you wear every day. You don't have to think about where you need to be at what time. You don't think about any of that. You were told at 5:30 in the morning what you will do for the day. So after 1,800 days of that, then I jumped out into Cabrillo College and working on a winery in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and barking at surfers why they weren't there at 8:15 in the morning. They have no concept of time. They didn't care. So it was all those little things that made the transition very challenging. I would find myself getting irritated and upset all the time. The list goes on and on. But ultimately, to Addie's point, it wasn't until I've experienced a bit at Cabrillo, the veteran community and talking to folks and networking and things. But when I got to San Jose State, it was when we brought everyone together and started visiting companies and started talking to folks who were in corporate America, and they would hear our stories, or my story, being a machine gunner in the infantry, traits that I could transfer over to the civilian world, and she helped me do that. So I think the key thing too is just start talking to folks. They're not going to understand your situation or the challenges, but they will help you overcome and make that transition faster. I think one thing for myself too was drop the ego. Nobody cares that you served in the military. So you just got to let it go and adapt very quickly. I think, and I held on to that for a very long time. I was so proud to have served in the Marine Corps Infantry. I still am. But don't take that to the classroom. And sure as heck, don't take it to the interview process. You just got to let it go at the door and learn to adapt and overcome quickly. So I'm a little more tough love approach, I think, with some vets. If you were there when I was there at the Veteran Student Organization, I pushed a lot of folks. So, you know, it's benefited me. That approach isn't for everybody though.
Thank you, guys. Anybody else just have a comment from the panelists, or even Peter?
I was messaging you saying, can you text me the Zoom link? I'm still trying to get my computer to connect. I would tend to agree with the drop your ego or leave it at the door to a certain extent. By all means, you definitely can still leverage your veteran status and connections to grease the skids and facilitate your transition. Just don't expect it to be like, oh, well, I got out as an E6, therefore I should, immediately be a director level position at a tech company or something. It doesn't translate that much. Unless you're going into a directly comparable role, like let's say you had, 10 years in supply chain and logistics for the Air Force, and now you're going into a supply chain and logistics government role with Cisco, then okay, yeah, that might be more comparable, and you can certainly jump a rung or two right off the bat. But definitely do be open to other opportunities that may seem more junior, be open to opportunities that may be a stepping stone. And this is kind of universal advice where I see a lot of people, shooting right at Facebook or Google or something like that right off the bat, and then being extremely disappointed if you don't get it. They get so many applicants, hundreds of thousands for every position. You literally have a better shot at getting into Harvard, or Stanford or something for grad school than getting into Google. So don't be too disappointed, but learn the alternate paths if that's still where you ultimately want to end up.
Yeah.
And we can go into that more as the call goes on.
Yeah, I'll
And
just say,
Peter,
I just want to build quickly.
yeah.
Do an internship.
Got it.
Do an internship. 100%. That's how I got
Do
this.
multiple internships. Actually,
yeah, exactly.
perfect spring. Yeah.
Because I think
We will talk about that.
yeah, to the point that it's, look, I was I was a machine gunner. I led men in combat. I had this idea that I had all this experience. I can take this anywhere with me. Well, it wasn't transferable ultimately for myself. And so to the points being made, you just got to be a little more open-minded. Sometimes it's better to just leave it at the door. And if you find opportunities to bring your veteran story into the conversation, then absolutely do so.
Awesome. And Peter, I apologize. Do you want to say really quickly where you're from and what you do? You're muted.
Sure, one sec. I just got the
Logging back in.
Yeah, I was switching over from the phone to the computer real quick. I finally got it all working. Okay, there we go.
There you are.
So my name is Peter Stadler. I graduated from San Jose State with a degree in computer science. Did the software engineering thing briefly, worked at a data center, and then ended up at Cisco Systems as a program. Well, started off as a project manager, transitioned to like a hybrid project program manager role, and then here we are a few years later, I'm a program manager. So yeah, that's me. I was in the Army for 13 years, all total, give or take, 6.5 active, 6.5 reserves. I started off in heavy artillery and welding as a mechanic and welder, and then reclassed into counterintelligence. Got out as an E6, and then, yeah, now I'm at Cisco Systems as a program manager, working on nothing remotely related.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is geared towards Vita and David, just to kind of kick it off. What resources, civilian and or military, did you find the most valuable in helping you make your transition? So for example, as some of you have already mentioned, connecting with mentors in school, getting back into school, or friends, family, VA training, just to kind of jog your memory a little bit. What did you find that helped you the most in your transition?
I can go first, if it's okay. So for me, it was my family. I just started a family, and my wife has been very good at motivating me, and I don't want my family to be starving, for the next few years. So I just studied really hard, and then VRC. Most people who transfer or start going to school again, they have finances of financing difficulties. Like they just don't have the resources unless you have a rich dad. Luckily, we do have a rich uncle, Uncle Sam. So VRC actually helped me just take care of all the bills, all my finances problems, and I won't have the CPA license without Maggie and VRC. I won't have a master's degree certification without the VRC. So, and lastly, go to a career center, go to what you may call it, like academic center, because they will help you get you from your first class to the very end of your academic career. So, and I did it in a hard way, because full time was 12 units. I don't know if it's still the same. It was 3 years ago, but I did 18 units because I wanted to get over this as quick as possible. And so,
Thank you, David. Vita, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. So outside of, of course, my family and friends who were definitely very helpful. At the time I was going to school, I was a single mom. So just their support with, my son and childcare give me, the opportunity to like study. But something I really, I never had even knew what they were for, what purpose they serve, was mentors. So when I got to San Jose State, you guys had the faculty mentorship program, and I decided to, try it out. And to this day, Michelle Bolton, I don't think she's there anymore, but she was such a key, figure in helping me get through through school, and even to this day we still talk. It's still like a more of a mentorship friendship that it's, you know, really turned into. But just having someone there to really, you know, kind of guide me on the academic level, professional level, even personal, you know, level was very helpful. And it's something that I think going forward, I do value, you know, making or having other mentors or being a mentor. So those are some of the things that I really feel like really helped me get through school and just life at times. So.
You. I'm gonna jump to the next question unless anybody had something they really wanted to add to that.
I would just add that other than the VRC, the Veteran Student Organization, I don't know if that still exists, or but that was paramount to the success of quite a few of us who were part of that. Vita, Chris, Jason, others. I think all of us who were willing to put in the proactive time it took to find mentors, to go to the Academic Career Center, to meet with professors, to do company tours, to network with folks, to work on your resume, to look at your transferable skills between military specialty and civilian life. No one's going to do it for you. Nobody. So you have to take action and do it yourself. And I think we all motivated each other to do that. And we excelled in our courses because of it. So I highly encourage you to get involved in the Veteran Student Organization.
Thank you. And VSO does exist still. So Gabby's on here and we're trying to get more involvement going on with that. So, okay, Kwong and Addie, if you want to jump in on this one, and I know you guys have things to say about this question. So did you participate in, I know we talked about a little bit about mentorships, but I'm thinking more just the internship and professional associations or clubs, anything around those topics that you feel like really helped you with your networking and reaching out and getting comfortable in doing that and out of your comfort zone. So Kwong, Addie, take it.
Yeah, sure. I guess I can go first. So I actually didn't have any internships or wasn't looking for it until my senior year of college. I was like, oh shoot, I gotta about to graduate. I don't have anything. Let's start looking for internships. So very luckily, with the short amount of preparation, I actually went through the VRC or Maggie's mentorship program, and then I was able to get a internship at Adobe tech company in Silicon Valley as a technical solutions consultant. And from then, during my 3 months of internships, I was able to network almost like every single veterans I can find within the company. And then I still have a really good relationship with them. You know, for example, a couple months ago, I got to meet up with one of the program manager at Adobe, and then, you know, we just had a coffee chat about like just getting advice in terms of what to do, what to look for. And, you know, he's super helpful. He's like, oh, whenever, if you want to, just in case you want to come back to Adobe, like he has so many guidance or doors open for me. So I feel like those are some of the like pipelines that you just want to keep having, especially as like a veteran. You already have that badge in you. So everywhere you go, you're always going to find veterans, and it's really it's going to help. It'll be really helpful for you in terms of your career, as long as you to have a lot of just bunch of networks anywhere. So I do think that that's really one of the advantage as being a veteran student to land jobs at anywhere.
Yeah, so I didn't actually do any internships. Fortunately, I was able to land a job right before a semester before graduating San Jose State, which was through leveraging my veteran network itself. So it paid off to nurture and stay connected with my peers, because that's how those that had graduated a semester ahead of me had already landed those jobs. They had already paved the way ahead of me and working in tech companies. So I had done my due diligence early on enough to maintain those relationships. So it's important not just to make the connections, but to stay connected, nurture them, check in with those people, because those people are going to be the ones to pass your resume in, to feed it through those pipelines, so maybe you don't have to go through the internship and bypass that if you are fortunate enough to land the job that way. And so that was my case. But on the flip side of the mentorship part, though, and in joining groups, I think Vita touched on it earlier with Michelle. The women's mentorship program really did help me as a female, because there aren't a whole lot of female veterans that come through. And so finding that not just veteran community, but for me as a female, that even smaller niche of females, right? People like me, to find those other connections and those other smaller groups of network, to be able to even find my way into where I was looking through to find employment in. And those women are very powerful. So you don't necessarily have to be a female, but those connections help me a lot. And I still, to this day, maintain those relationships, because as you progress in your career, as you move up higher, those people still have that leverage, that power in the Silicon Valley or wherever you're living, and still can make that connection to their network, because they still hold that prestige, and you can still continue to leverage them. But even locally, while I was at San Jose State, I had already been accepted and everything as a transfer student. I did also attend a Stanford program for veterans in the summertime. So you don't necessarily have to stay fully attached to your school that you're going to get your degree from. There are other local schools that cater to our veteran population that you can continue to leverage, transfer those credits, and bring them with you and make them count at San Jose State. And you have now that network of, say, for me, in my case of Stanford, on your resume at your disposal, again, to continue to grow and expand your network.
Awesome. Anyone else had just something to
Yeah,
add to that?
I just want to beat the dead horse on internships real quick. So one of
They are important.
one of the mistakes I made early on was, I was coming off of back-to-back deployments and everything else, the long work hours, the grueling work-life balance that isn't really a balance and all that. And so I was kind of just like catching my breath and taking a big sigh of relief when I started coming back to college and just relying on living entirely off the GI Bill. So I was like, oh, everybody's basically doing internships for a little summer money or beer money or whatever. I didn't really get the point of internships at first. And the point is not necessarily to, offset your college costs or anything else. It's to give you an environment where failure is, openly accepted, and you can kind of get your feet wet, get your hands dirty on whatever you're studying. And also don't put it off until just your senior year. Everybody feels woefully underqualified for whatever internship they're doing. Don't wait till you're a senior and just get one internship under your belt. Do it your freshman year, your sophomore year, your junior year. Do them constantly. Aim for co-ops if you can find them. Do them in conjunction with your schoolwork. Learn the cycles on when people are hiring for internships versus when they actually start, because those are often months apart from each other. Don't start looking for an internship in May for the summer. It's going to be way too late. Start looking, January, February. That's when the hiring cycles are. And also the other big thing about internships, and I can't speak for all companies and everybody here, but at least for certain companies, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we have about a 90% conversion rate for our interns. So that's more often than not where you're going to get your first job out of college, and it's going to be your fastest track or pipeline into the job market. So rather than having one of these tales of woe of shooting out 400 resumes or whatever after graduation, we often take interns back summer after summer to continue building on the projects they started, to continue working with other teams under the same director, but maybe different managers, whatever, to get you exposure to the industry, the ecosystem, and everything else. So I can't understress how much more important internships are than I initially thought they were.
The only thing I'll add on top of what Peter said is it'll likely let you know what you don't want to do.
That too.
Yeah.
If you do an internship and you think you're going to go be a computer programmer somewhere, and you realize, I hate this, I do not want to do this, what was I thinking? You don't get to make that choice after you've graduated and you step foot through the door. Because then where's that going to leave you? So explore. Like my degree is in information technology. If you recall, I was in public relations and now I'm in marketing. They're not related. I'm not pursuing a career in my degree. So
that's another aspect of it too, is it gives you exposure to the other roles that you may be interested in that may not necessarily have their own degree path, but are open to, related degrees or multiple degrees or whatever, right? Where, just like the Army consists of a lot more than just, snipers and, infantry and artillery or tanks or whatever, there's 400 other jobs that support those that you may or may not have even heard of, depending on whether or not they were looking for people at MEPS at the time, right? Or even throughout your active duty or reserve career, you may or may not have ever even encountered them, but there are full-time jobs still paying similar salaries and good living and everything else with all the same benefits and perks. So, big companies and organizations aren't all just software engineers or electrical engineers or, finance and accounting and HR. Like there's a multitude of other opportunities out there that internships will expose you to.
Very true. Departments you would never imagine are there, and they keep adding them with all new names and everything else. So
Yeah,
lots of opportunity.
exactly. So it kind of goes into the next question a little bit. Internships obviously are a great way to build your network and get yourself out there, marketing yourself by getting more experience. So I throw this next one out to you, Kwong and Eric, but again, I know you all can speak to this. What advice would you give on how to market yourself the best way possible during your job search, and how important is like networking and doing some of these events like Cisco's Career Transition Day and other things that are out there to really get you connected to people? So
Yeah, I'd say take advantage of the resources you have at your fingertips. So everything that I was able to do to build a personal brand, market myself when I wanted to start, applying for roles or the internships, was based off of everything that Maggie, you had in the VRC or the Career Academic Center. And then part of it was getting involved with the Veteran Student Organization, getting a group of folks together to say, hey, let's go do a tour of Adobe. Well, when you're there, you're meeting a bunch of employees who have been working there for 10, 15 years. You get to know them, you connect with them on LinkedIn, you start a conversation. I think ultimately it just takes getting out of your comfort zone and starting to meet people or ask questions that you typically wouldn't or have had to because you were previously in the military. We all know the TAPS program, if they call it that across branches, Transition Assistance Program, is garbage. I was there for 5 days. Someone helped me write a resume, which was skeleton bones of nothing. And then I was told, good luck, buddy, here's some tennis shoes. So it's just, you have to be extremely proactive. And it's the same thing once you get a job, your career path and your career journey. There is nobody there to help you. People are there to guide you. You can talk to folks, but you have to be proactive. So when it comes to marketing yourself and building a brand presence, think about what you want to do. What is it that you want to do after SJSU? Do you just want a job? Do you want a career? Do you have something specific? Research it. Google is your best friend. Understand the dynamics. Watch some YouTube videos about people that do marketing, advertising, public relations, system programming, whatever it may be. And then tune into that. So the next time you have a conversation with someone, ask a question that lets them know you've been digging into this further. You're actually interested. You're not wasting their time. That's important. Remember those things and carry it with you. So if you meet this person again a year or two, bring it up, say thanks, send them a card. It really goes a long way. I think that's a really important thing when you're trying to market yourself, because we're not starting where everyone else got to start. Addie was in for 10 years. Then she had to overcome all of that. I know when I applied for I sent 200 applications in and I got one phone call for an internship. And I'm still at that company. So it's pretty incredible the work you have to put into it. The return can be great, but if you don't put in the work, there'll be no return. I'll just leave it at that.
yeah, Kwong, do you have anything extra?
Yeah, I think I just want to add that, being proactive is extremely important. So especially for my current role, I've always wanted to work at Lockheed just because it's very military friendly company, and then I know it's very stable industry. So I've probably applied like maybe 10 times overall, like full-time role internships just during my school. But you know, I'm pretty sure they never even looked at my resume just because they're getting so many applications. So, and then one day I'll just, you know, browsing LinkedIn or the Handshake website through San Jose State, and then I see that they have online, I guess, network session for business roles. And I was just like, oh, maybe I'll just give it a try. At the time, I kind of hated this online stuff, and that was during COVID too. So I was like, oh, since I don't have anything lined up, and I just want to check it out. And then it was with a bunch of people. They're trying to recruit people, and then not necessarily just looking at the resume, but they just want to talk to the people, talk to the candidates, like who's really interested in applying and who's willing to go an extra step to get into the Zoom call with a professional. It's only like 30 minutes your time, but like they just want to see the face, right? And then once I got into the network session, they're like, oh, for the people who attended this network session, we want to invite you to the second network session, which is a lot more smaller and more concentrated. And then when I attended that one, like it was almost like a guaranteed interview. They're like, okay, for those who attended this network session, you guys are, you know, invited to the interview. And then when I went to the interview, it's like a smooth process. And then, you know, the one thing you have to think about as a college graduate student, like there's so many college graduates, like tens of thousands every year, and everyone has this. Let's say everyone probably has the same skill set. So, like, what are you willing to do to go above and beyond, or among your colleagues to send out, right? And then it could just be a simple one message or just one like 30 minutes Zoom network session for me. So it's just really important for you to like go be proactive and stuff. And as a veteran, you already have a leverage to explain yourself with all the experience. So I just think that, you know, you just put maybe a little bit more work than other people. And that's all you got to do.
Quan, he brought up a really good point, which is, you know, differentiating yourself against your peers. Everybody in your classrooms are competing with you for the same jobs, all of them, at every university in the Bay Area. Actually, I take that back, every university in the nation, because to Peter's point, how many applicants does Google get every year? Millions. Their intern program, they get like 5 million applicants. So by going to 2 networking sessions, Quan got himself a job. That's all it took. By applying to 200 places and networking with folks and understanding what I needed to market myself, I got on the phone with someone at a company called AbbVie, and now I've been there almost 6 years. So you have to take a proactive stance. I think that's the key component.
Let me add a little more to this. Do you guys still get invited to Google career or resume workshop? That helped me tremendously, because after I went to that, I met a lot of people who were very highly motivated, right? And we you know, wrote my resume like the right way, the correct way, and I got a few more interviews, and I got the job like before even the interviewers talked to me. And at the end of the interview, one of the managers said, wow, you have a really impressive resume. So you want to impress the interviewers even before you met them. So that's for me.
So what I'm hearing is take advantage of all the amazing resources that are out there. I mean, yeah, Google still does their veteran program. I think they do it every summer in June, I want to say. It's like a support network. And then some of the students on this call were or are participating currently in our Veterans Career Readiness Program. But any of those networking opportunities that you can take advantage, I think, is the theme I'm hearing you all say. So to the next question, and again, just David, Addie, kind of start with you guys, or even Peter, share with us what you believe was the biggest surprise, like if you had a culture shock or learning curve in working in the civilian work environment.
Oh yes, I can go first on that one. I had a few culture shocks. My first corporate job, I was used to structure and hierarchy and guidance. Well, that's not the tech sector. I remember Peter was there a few months before I was at Cisco, and I recall we prepared notes. We're like, hey, have you seen an org chart around here? Like, where do we keep them, right? Well, there's no such thing. No such thing as org charts. Hierarchy does not really exist. The structures are flat. There isn't really the spider down or flow down charts. Everything is kind of flat across the board in a horizontal way. And so that was, to me, culture shock. Like, oh, okay, so it's not that we're peers. It's just that is the structure for most tech companies. And with that came, well, then how do I define my day-to-day? How do I know what my North Star is? What am I doing in my role, in my job? So I had to figure out how to function operationally on a day-to-day basis. It took me several months to shift my brain from guidelines and guidance and in a structured way to what tech is, very creative, very innovational, you bring the ideas, you structure your way, you create your schedule, you navigate your Outlook calendar in the way that works best for you and your stakeholders. The programs or the projects that you're working around and the availability in this global distributed teams and your teammates and those kinds of things. So that was a culture shock for me, and to figuring out what my purpose was. That was not easy for me to identify. What is my purpose here in this role, in this company? What am I doing? And the camaraderie as well. That was my third thing. Where my peers and I don't have a whole lot in common. So where is the crew? Where do I fit in? And that is another, again, where I ran into Pete here and the veteran community. So Cisco, fortunately, is a big company where there are a lot of veterans. And I finally found, okay, cool. So there are people like me here. And so slowly that sense of camaraderie and fitting in and finding my purpose and sharing ideas and just feeling more belonging kicked in for me. So that was super helpful.
Okay,
David.
I think I share the same feelings about the hierarchy. The difference is so much in the military and in the civilian, my civilian job now at Abbott, Stringham and Lynch. I remember I was dating my wife, my girlfriend at the time, and she lived in Indonesia. When I had to, ask for a leave, and it took me like 30 days, or even more, like maybe 2-3 months, because it's overseas, and it's just like it's ridiculous because my platoon sergeant and then my company commander and everyone has to sign on, right? I had to sign off. And it's just ridiculous. It took 2 months for just one vacation. And I had at least three vacations going back to Indonesia in a year. So, and here at my company, I just sent my boss, hey, I need to take some time off for 2-3 weeks. Okay, approved. That's a huge difference. So I'm glad that's civilian side is actually better on this part.
Less red tape, maybe. Depending on what industry you're in.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything just specifically on that? Or we can, with time getting a little short, we can move on to the next question if no one had anything.
Yeah, just a quick little blurb to add is one of the things that I noticed, or one of the biggest surprises, was how much everybody's just winging it. So again, this goes towards the, while you have to set your ego aside and realize you're starting over to a certain extent, this is where the wheel starts to turn and things come back around to the top, where you realize just how much more organized and used to structure and organization you are compared to the general civilian populace at these companies, right? You would think that a multi-billion-dollar company in a global industry would be highly organized and structured and everything else. No, everything, the name of the game is adapt and overcome, right? Improvise, adapt, and overcome at every level on everything. So everything is subject to change, everything is loosely defined and highly motivated, and you got to just go for it.
100%. We have a running joke on my team. Nothing is final.
Yeah.
Everything is always draft form, even if it's been presented.
And even after it's pushed to go live and is in production, it's still not final.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very fluid. So this next question is, I think, super important and relevant to just the time we're living in and the potential that the students on here are graduating or will be graduating with all these shifts in just work style. So work from home, hybrid, all this stuff. Whereas most of you weren't that before the pandemic started. I think most of you were all in person in your jobs. For the most part, maybe you had a little flexibility in working from home. So specifically, and Vita, I'm curious, mainly why I put you on this is as a mother also, and Eric and David, and you guys can attest to this, but from the female's perspective, because I can attest to that, just how it was transitioning to working from home with everyone home, homeschooling, working, and all of that. So for Vita and Eric, how did the pandemic affect your work style? How did you manage that? And what is your advice for helping new people that will be entering this type of work environment?
All right, I'll start this one off, Eric. So yeah, it was a challenge, it was something that was new to everyone. So it just really didn't know how to navigate it. But I learned early on that I needed to organize my day, because if not, everything was just gonna, be a big blur, and I didn't feel like I was gonna be productive at the end of the day. So I really started using my calendar, or even, scheduling my breaks in that calendar, because sometimes it's, working from home, just, I don't know, I find it hard sometimes to leave my work area. So that was something I learned to do, really work those in, because we need those mental breaks. It's that self-care that I've learned is so important, especially if you're, taking care of other people. Also was a workspace. I was, at first I was in the common area, and there were so many distractions, and it just was hard for me to focus. And by the end of the day, I was I'm not even sure I was productive today. So that's another stressor. So it was just, okay, let's create a space where I'm going to, go in there for a couple hours and really knock out some work. But yeah, it was just really balancing a lot of things and learning how to do that. And a lot of it was using my calendar. And if I was going to take a break, it was a real break. Let me go outside and go on a walk, because my breaks became cleaning the house, and that's just not, wasn't productive. So at the end of the day, I think it's just really finding the space to, get work done, be proactive during that time, allow yourself to take those breaks, create a schedule if you need to, and just plan ahead, always looking at the calendar the next day, just to make sure what, what your day's going to look like. And yeah, it's just when you're taking care of other people, you also can't forget to take care of yourself. So that's probably number one, that self-care. So go on those walks, go on your bike ride, whatever, go fishing, whatever you need to just, recharge and, really be productive. So,
That's it. The challenges were great. They were huge. They sucked. The last year I taught first and second grade and worked 50 hours a week. And to Vita's point, I didn't know how to turn off. So I actually added up the hours I was investing. They were supposed to be paying me double, because I was working 100 hours. I was working nonstop, 11 o'clock at night. Oh, everyone's asleep. Fine, I'll work till 1 a.m. I finally had to have a very transparent discussion with my leadership in my company. So they're based in a different area. They're based in Chicago. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you join a company. If they're in a different geographic region, then the culture and the lifestyle that you're living in, you got to raise that point because they don't have market research looking into that for you. So I had to tell them, no, I'm not going to come to the office when the building's reopening because I'm going to be on Zoom and 90% of people are still remote. No, I can't make that meeting because I have to take my son to school and I have to pick him up. And that is a priority for me. At the time, soon enough, I'm almost divorced. So if anyone's gone through that, I'm very happy. I'm very close. But last year I wasn't. My partner was not contributing. So I was doing everything myself. It was very, very challenging. So I think the number one thing is, regardless of company position and policy, you need to take a stand for yourself. You need to let them know your real situation. I can't come to the job at 8 o'clock because second grade or third grade doesn't open until 8:15. And I live 2 hours from the office, to mention. So I think it's good to be really transparent with your leadership. And if they push back on you, they did for me, I just kept pushing. I'm not saying, go get a job and then start making all these demands, but the world has changed. The word used is pandemic, so it's global. Everyone's work style has shifted completely. And what we could do in the past, we can't do anymore. And so, for example, my company, they keep trying to adapt. They keep trying to change, come up with new things. It'll be beneficial to everyone if we just accept what's going on and make the needed adjustments for individuals as they see fit. Blanket policies aren't very beneficial. So when you do get a job, this will still be a thing. If you're in a situation like me, where I can't just drop everything all the time, you have to make that known. And I think ultimately at the end of the day, they're going to respect you more for it. You're not leaving the company. You're not telling them you don't want to do the job or want to be there. You're telling them, I want to be there, but this is what I need from you in order to make that happen. So I think that's something I had to put my foot down a little bit.
If I can just add one more thing to that, Eric and Vita, and considering that employer you do end up with, and if you're considering advancing even higher education after a bachelor's degree, think about that as well. So like Vita and I, we both tackled a master's degree, an MBA program at the same time while we were working. So mother over there with child and everything and working and doing an MBA. And while I don't have a child, but still I was working full time and everything, it can be done. You just have to really manage your time well. It can be done. And with or without the pandemic, think about those things as you do seek for that job. Does the employer offer a tuition reimbursement or compensation type of program or whatnot? Just things to keep in mind, right? And does your partner support it? All of those other things that maybe right now aren't as in front of you, but just something to keep in mind.
And I want to respect people's time. So I do want to throw out the last question with just the last few minutes that we have. And knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to any veteran that is about to graduate or has 2 years left? So maybe they're a junior, they might have a summer to go do an internship, but just any little tidbit of advice. I'll throw it first, David.
I'll go real quick. Don't wait till the last minute to go looking for a job or to, get an internship. I think this was discussed earlier. Or, sometimes you're like, I'm just going to wait out a little bit. And then a pandemic happens and your whole plan, goes to, down the drain. So just be proactive. I think we've said that word plenty of times today, but don't wait for anything to come, knocking at your door. Be proactive, even when you're a student. I know it seems hard to juggle everything, but it's going to make life easier if you really get ahead of it and, get ahead of everyone else that's also trying to land a job. So, good luck.
And Eric, don't stress.
And for me, just have a plan. Have a plan and stick with it. Like you know what you want to do. and you talk to Maggie and Bob, and you talk to Career Center, or you talk to Academic Center as well, and make that happen, because you have it in you. You're a veteran, so you've already went through basic training or boot camp or whatnot, and you got this. So
What I meant by no stress is just take a moment, sit down. First, take a deep breath. Then think, what do I actually have control over? Make a list. And once you realize it's yourself, that is all. Maybe not all the time, but most of the time. Then you'll see that, to David's point, make a plan. Start thinking through what you want to do. Talk to people who are already doing it. How did they get there? Maybe you can add a few nuggets to your plan to get there. Go to the academic center, join the Veteran Student Organization, go to the VRC, go on company tours, join networking sessions. It's not rocket science. It's not even science. This is just real simple stuff that you can do that will greatly benefit you in the long run. But ultimately, knowing what you have control over and what you don't will relieve so much stress. I have no control over what X person does with this project, none. So why stress about it?
Anyone else have any like final thoughts that they just want to throw out? And I do want to make sure, I did put it in the chat box, but for any of the panelists, if you could put your LinkedIn profile, or if you're okay sharing your email address, feel free to put that in the chat box. I also put, for the students that are on here, just the survey that the Career Center would like you guys to complete. So any last final closing words? I super appreciate all of your time. It's fun to do this little like lunch and learn thing. So I'm excited and hope we can do these a couple more times, just, you know, over the next semester or whatever, and trying to keep engaging students. There was a password issue for today. It got changed. So I have a feeling that's why a lot of students weren't able to get in, but I have it recorded. So that's awesome. So we'll just put it out there and we'll share it with all of our students so they can view it.
I'll throw one last little word in here. It's depending on what your job was or your rank, most likely at some point or another, you were exposed to the whole concept of learn the job above you while teaching yours to the guy below you. So that kind of constant knowledge transfer and learn while you teach dynamic is something that you won't see a lot of in the civilian career. However, if you become known for bringing that to the table, it's never too late to start, regardless of your major, regardless of what you're studying. Spend that time in your study halls, in teachers' hours, in whatever, be a TA, be a student helper. As an upperclassman, share some of your knowledge with the been there, done that, just passed that class last semester to the next person in your major. It doesn't matter if they're, 18 years old, fresh out of high school, another veteran, the 40-year-old dude coming back to college, whatever. And when you get to your, once you land on your feet at your civilian career job, continue that dynamic. Becoming known for doing that is a very positive thing and will help with pretty much everything else you're doing. And it's also a measure of teaching yourself. So if you can't break something down Barney style for somebody who's even fresher than you, then it helps highlight your own knowledge gaps and gives you kind of your next steps, right? It's a way of constantly reminding yourself of what the next steps are that you need to take.
Peter. Oh, Kwon, you have something?
Oh, yeah, I'll just say something. I guess just don't be afraid to compete with other people. I know San Jose State's not like an Ivy League or top tier school, but I mean, you are competing against like Berkeley or Stanford people, but knowing that you have.
We actually are like one of the top 10 though.
Right.
Seriously, for like feeding into tech companies, we're one of the top 10 universities that feeds into all the tech companies for any major role, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then on top of that, you have military experience. So like, I guess my advice is just sell yourself high, just because you bring all that experience and you're coming from Silicon Valley. So yeah, I'll just say that.
Get after it.
Get after it. That's
Yeah.
right. So we are over time.
I just wanted to say thank you real quick, Maggie, to the veteran alumni who came out to speak today online, because I really appreciate something, and all of you guys. And I just wanted to say this before I left, but like, thank you so much for giving back to the veteran community. And, I'm work in the medical field, so not related to business, but I still gain valuable information from this panel today. So I really appreciate the advice, the encouragement, and I hope to connect with some of you all after this. So yes, thank you for your time, and hope you guys have a great day.
Yes, thank you, everybody. And if you want to connect with the panelists, a lot of them put their contact information in the chat box. I can also make sure you guys connect via LinkedIn. So if you find them on LinkedIn and need that introduction or whatever, just let me know. And have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.